the Intoxicating Liquor Amendment Bill 2017, second stage private members' business. So the question is that the bill be now the second time, is that it? I call on Senator Lawless to move the bill.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and welcome, Minister. Here again. I want to thank you for the opportunity to debate this bill, which has been sponsored by Senators McDowell, Bohan and Crockwell, and which I hope to obtain the support of the majority of this House. The bill, as you know, has one very simple and straightforward objective, and that is to remove the prohibition on licensed premises, including restaurants, off-licences and supermarkets, from trading on Good Friday. I would like to acknowledge former Senators Imelda Henry and the former Leader of this House, Maurice Cummins, who, along with the current member of this House, Senator Colin Burke, sponsored the same bill that unfortunately never got past first stage in the last Seanad and was not debated. It is very welcome indeed, as reported in the Irish Times yesterday, that Minister Francis Fitzgerald sought Cabinet approval to ensure the support of all of the Fine Gael senators, and equally that all parties have indicated their support for this bill. I equally respect those opposed to this bill, including my colleague, Senator Mullen, who I recently enjoyed a lengthy and respectful debate with. I am of a generation that fully appreciates the importance religious observation means to many in this country, and how they feel that the country which they grew up in has dramatically changed in the past 50 years. Unlike what we have seen in my adopted country of the United States, however, Ireland's modernisation has been intergenerational and has cut across class divides. The so-called left-behinds in the United States, who do not recognise the modern United States advocated by former President Obama and yearn for a country that reflects the old ways of their past, is a constituency in large that is absent in Ireland. Nowhere was this more self-evident than in the same-sex marriage referendum, where an overwhelming 61% of the population, across all ages, genders and tradition, voted to support a change to the fabric of our nation that would have been unconscionable when the Free State of Ireland was established in 1922. That Free State is in an understandable desire to distinguish itself. In almost one of its first legislative actions, enacted the Intoxicating Liquor Bill of 1924. Up until that point, as the then Minister for Justice Kevin O'Higgins outlined to Dáil Éireann, when he introduced the bill, pubs are open on Good Friday from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. in cities and towns where the population was over 5,000, and from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. elsewhere. In an expression of support for the bill, it was observed by a Labour Party TD, Thomas Johnson, that, quoting, "Good Friday is a Christian Memorial Day, and I suppose one might say that in Ireland, more particularly in the 26 counties, it is recognised and taken notice of to an extent more than in any other country, perhaps in Europe, perhaps in the world." End of quote. This is how the debate was framed then. Prohibition of opening pubs on Good Friday was intertwined in the image which our new independent state was seeking to portray. While the prohibition on pubs opening was lifted for St. Patrick's Day some 60 years ago, for the best part of 90 years the prohibition on pubs opening on Good Friday has stayed the law of the land, with only two attempts to seek legislative change in the area. One was made in a private members' bill in 1998 by the Labour Party, and I note from the debates that had the support of then Deputy McDowell, now Senator and co-sponsor of this bill, that was defeated at second stage. The second was in 2014 by Fine Gael senators in a bill that never got past first stage. It was former Senator O'Toole, however, in seeking to amend a government bill in 2000 to allow pubs open on Good Friday, who perhaps framed the debate in the most straightforward manner to date, quoting, "Ireland is a grown-up country. We appear able to deal with bribery, corruption and other nasty aspects of life. We talk about creating an inclusive society, openness and giving people responsibility for their actions. Perhaps somebody could tell me why pubs do not open on Good Friday." End of quote. He went on to capture what has now become the great irony of the Good Friday prohibition, that the prescription is more often honoured in the breach than the observance. This is plainly the case right across the country, where Holy Thursday is now one of the single biggest off sales for supermarkets and off licence in the entire year. Past Ministers of Justice have acknowledged time and again that a person is free and entitled to take a drink in their home, and that the prohibition on pubs opening on Good Friday does not interfere with the person's right to take a drink on that day if they so wish. It is, of course, perfectly true to say this, but what the current Minister must acknowledge is that in incentivising low-cost drinking away from the controlled environment of licensed premises directly contradicts the current government's entire alcohol policy. It is stated government policy that to reduce binge drinking in Ireland, an objective with which I believe that no one in this House would disagree. We need to remove cheap, low-cost alcohol from our supermarkets and off licences. Currently, an 18-year-old with €10 can buy 10 cans of beer on Holy Thursday to keep for the next day, but cannot walk into a pub and meet friends where he or she might buy 2 or 3 drinks with the same money. Keeping pubs closed on Good Friday actively incentivises binge drinking, where people gather all day, particularly students, in arranged premises and bring cans of beer, bottles of vodka, and spend the day fueling themselves in an uncontrolled environment, simply because the 90-year-old rule has remained stubbornly unremoved from our legislation. It is no secret that I am a publican and restaurateur. That is my trade. I am also a father and grandfather, and I have seen the real damage alcohol abuse does to families and to young people. There are, of course, clear economic benefits to licensed premises opening on Good Friday, where it has been estimated that local businesses lose between 30 and 40 million as a result of the closure. Tourists amble around the streets looking for the world-famous Irish pub atmosphere, which they have spent, in some cases, hundreds of euros to enjoy, to be turned away on arrival. These are strong reasons to end the 90-year rule, but they are not the only reasons. There are few, I believe, in this country, which is a hugely tolerant nation, that believe their values or beliefs are being harmed or weakened as a result of changing these laws. If anything, much like Ash Wednesday has become a secular day to encourage people to stop smoking, there is no reason at all why Good Friday could take on similar manifestations in relation to alcohol abuse once the prohibition has been lifted.
Lost then, if you put people off drinking.
Over the last 30 years, however, we did not hear discussions about the effect of alcohol on young people or the promotion of responsible drinking when Good Friday comes round. Instead, what we hear is the humorous stories of the ingenuity of those seeking to evade the prohibition, heading to train stations, theatres, greyhound stadiums and other sporting venues. It does not serve as a reminder to Christians of what I know is an extremely solemn day in their calendar, to see images on the 6 o'clock news of people guzzling down cans of beer on trains and sports stadiums. The prohibition simply solidifies them and us society, which is not reflected in Ireland. So, Cathaoirleach and Minister, it is time to move on, make the change to the legislation and send this bill to the Dáil today so that by next Good Friday in 2018, Ireland can continue to promote a much more mature attitude to alcohol consumption. Thank you.